Them hard.
There it is, live on YouTube. So, okay, everybody ready? Good morning. Call to order this Sweetwater County Board of County Commissioners meeting here this Tuesday, December 15th, 2020. At this point in time, I would like to make this announcement that the public will be able to comment immediately following the public hearing presentation, which we do not have today, but they'll also be able to comment during the public comment section of the agenda by calling area code 307-872-3891 or by sending comments ahead of time via email. With that, I will like to notify the public that a quorum is present, and I would ask that everyone please stand and join me in a pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, public, for joining us. With that, our first order of business will be to approve the agenda. Commissioners, agenda item, let me look here. Tab L, which was the compensation survey that Mr. McLean submitted for this agenda. He called me this morning and asked that we put that off, pull it off the agenda, as he'll talk with us at executive session dealing with personnel. So with that, I would entertain a motion unless commissioners have anything else to approve the agenda with the request to pulling Tab L, which is a request approval of the compensation survey.
So moved.
I have a motion by Commissioner Shanefield. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, commissioners. With that, as we move forward to the next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes for December 1st, 2020. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes for December 1st, 2020 as presented.
We have a motion by Commissioner Shanefield to approve the minutes for December 1st. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Any further discussion, commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next order of business is approving of the acceptance of the bills, which is the EALs, the monthly reports, the bonds, and approval of the abates and rebates. Commissioners, what's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Lloyd.
I would move that we do the acceptance of the bill, the approval of the EALs, the approval of the monthly reports, the approval of the bonds, and the approval of the abates and rebates.
We have a motion to approve the bills. Is there a second?
So moved.
I have a second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. As we move forward, the next item on our agenda is county residents' concerns. I do know, commissioners, just to share with you, there'll be some phone calls coming in this morning. This comments might take a little longer this morning. So the first thing I'll do is we'll go to Mr. Mike. Do you have anything as far as emails for county resident concern? The floor is open.
Yes, we do have one email.
Would you be kind enough to read it, please? You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, we'll try it this way.
Very good.
Holding my space bar and it wasn't working.
Okay.
Get back to it. Okay, the first comment on email, we actually have two of them that are in now. Rick Clark, and he says, how much will 2 scrolling signs approved at the December 1st meeting cost?
Is that all that says?
Yes, it is.
We'll have to research that. Thank you.
Okay, and the next one is from Bobby Jenkins. He has an email here and he also is on the phone right now. So I can bring him in with his phone call or I can read the email first.
Read the email first, please.
Okay. Good morning. I am Bobby Jenkins. I own partner in JMV. We have been in business 51 years in Sweetwater County. Our dollars stay local. Concerned about blanket approval for any location in Sweetwater County. Per statute, you must have approvals by county commissioners and each location by county commissions and Wyoming Gaming Commission. Don't give away all your local control with approving a blanket request for any site within Sweetwater County. The legislature earlier this year had limited the number of skill game machines for a variety of reasons which Cowboy Skill supported. Among those reasons was not to have many casinos teeming with machines similar to what you see in Wyoming. Many casinos have decimated entertainment in Montana's traditional bars and taverns, replacing pool tables and dartboards with slot machines in every corner of usable space. While the Gaming Commission approved this action, we don't feel it follows the current intent of the Wyoming legislature to limit the number of machines in bars and restaurants. Please table or oppose this resolution until we have more direction of what it may look like after the legislature meets this year. Respectfully, Bobby Jenkins.
Thank you, Mike. Now, I think you said Mr. Jenkins was on the phone as well.
Yes, he is.
Okay, at this time, will you please put him on speaker so he may visit with the commission?
Okay.
Tell
Okay,
me.
Bobby Jenkins should be with us now. Are you there, Bobby?
I am.
Mr. Jenkins, this is Commissioner Wendling, Chairman Wendling. Would you please identify yourself and who you're with, what organization?
Yes. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. My name is Bobby Jenkins. I'm with Jenkins Music and Vending in Sweetwater County.
Thank you, Bobby. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. So once again, I'm with Jenkins Music and Vending, also a member of Cowboy Skills Games. We live and have done business in Sweetwater County for over 50 years. And public comment today, we're just deeply concerned about the blanket approval of any locations in Sweetwater County for the HHR terminals. Per the statute, you must have approval by the county commissioners for each location by the commissioners and the Wyoming Gaming Commission. We're asking you not to give away your local control by approving a blanket request for any site within Sweetwater County. The legislators earlier this year had limited the number of skills games machines for a variety of reasons, which we as a company and a member of Wyoming Cowboy Skills supported. Among those reasons was not to have many casinos teaming up with similar machines to what you now see in Wyoming. As we know, many casinos have desecrated the entertainment and community style bars and taverns in Montana. It's replaced pool tables and dartboards with slot machines in almost every corner of usable space. While the Gaming Commission approved this action, we do not feel it follows the current intent of our Wyoming legislators to limit the number of machines in bars and restaurants. Please table or oppose this resolution until we have more time and direction of what it may look like after the legislators meet this year. I would respectfully open it up for any questions you may have
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. The email we received from you, that was from you as well?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins.
Thank you, Chairman.
Mr. Chair, can I ask Mr. Jenkins a question?
Mr. Lloyd?
Yeah, Mr. Jenkins, first of all, thank you for reaching out to us and sharing your thoughts and concerns today. I just need to get a clarification of something you had said. You had said that the current legislation says that the commission has to approve each location. Will you repeat that whole sentence because I wanted to write it down?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Let me get to that part. Per statute, you must have approval by the county commissioners and each location by county commissioners and the Wyoming Gaming Commission. And the concerns, Commissioner, is a blanket approval. We feel that our main concern is that you're going to give away your local control with the approval of a blanket approval to expand anywhere with these type of machines in your county.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. I appreciate that information.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I also have a question.
Commissioner Shanefield?
Mr. Jenkins, are you aware of any changes that have been presented in committee to the legislation for the upcoming fiscal year or session?
Yeah, and I would hate to comment on them just because I'm not wouldn't be able to talk specifically and accurately about it. But there are several opposed, and this is one of our concerns is at least minimizing, tabling this for at least, till we see what comes out of legislation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Hart, you have another phone call?
Yes, there's another call that came in. It's from Jim Blasovich.
Okay, do you have him set up?
I can bring him in now.
Would you please bring him in? Let me know when it's hooked up.
Okay, Jim Blasovich, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Good morning, Mr. Blasovich. This is Chairman Wendling. Would you please state your name and what organization you're with?
I'm Jim Blazovich with Wind River Vending and Cowboy Skills in Sweetwater County, Wyoming.
Thank you, Mr. Blasovich. The floor is yours.
What I was calling in was I just found out that there was a request for a blanket to put in horse racing terminals into all the bar locations in Sweetwater County, and I would be hoping that the county commissioners would deny that request at this time until at least there is some feedback from the state of Wyoming, the legislature, so we know exactly where to proceed from there, and we'd hope that the county commissioners would at least vote no on this or table this.
Thank you, Mr. Blasovich. Anything else?
No, that's all I have right now.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Mr. Hart, anything else?
No, there's nothing in email or phone calls now.
Okay, we'll give it another minute or so. Just don't want to miss anything. Anything else?
No, nothing has come in.
Thank you. If I wait just a partial part of another minute, we'll be exactly on schedule at 8:50. This time, anything else, Mr. Hart?
No, nothing else has come in.
Very good. At this time, I'll close the floor for public comment and thank those that called in. Thank you, as well as the emails. And with that, we'll move on with our further agenda. Up now are commissioner comments and reports. And first one up, Commissioner Shanefield.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So first and foremost, I'll start out with grants. Christina's been very busy ensuring that we are getting reimbursed for all the CARES funding possible. She's thinking that it may be a good idea to create a COVID committee to start identifying projects for a potential next round of CARES funding in January. She was also thinking that we should look at having our employees starting to track all of their time specific to COVID so that we also have that prepared as well from the very beginning. For the museum, not much has changed since our last meeting with the museum. They actually meet on Thursday this week. Visitation's been down recently, but the museum store sales have gone up quite a bit. They're busy restocking those items and they're attributing that to their online social media presence. They've been working very hard on pushing.
I needed to come in and talk to you anyways.
Oh, hold on a minute. Thank you, Mr. Thank you for muting. Go ahead, Lauren.
They've been working on getting information pushed out over social media, and I think have been pretty effective at doing this. They are also continuing to work with the Eden Valley Community Center to get up another exhibit about Eden Valley before the end of the year. And they also just started a firearms research service, which is no surprise, has been getting a lot of attention. And there's been a lot of work going into that. So that's a pretty awesome thing that they're doing with that. Commissioner Lloyd and I also met with Dave yesterday just to talk about strategic planning, to make sure that they were looped in and that they understood what our goals were. And that was a really good meeting that we had yesterday. SEDC, they are working on the Sweetwater Virtual Business Lounge. The first session is going to be tips and tricks for surviving 2020 taxes with Amy Jokel. She's an independent contractor. So this is a partnership with WWCC and Beach Creative Group. And it will be on January 12th from 9 to 9:30. Each attendee that registers will receive a 30% off discount coupon that can be used at Stellar Coffee or Nell's Coffee. Stellar's in Green River and Nell's is in Rock Springs. And the program is centered around a mid-morning coffee break with discussion around some education provided. And then Keela and Eric are working to bring a webinar from Maureen Collins, who's an American speaker and a consultant supporting community leaders and entrepreneurs as they work through some tough economic challenges with the new economy that we're working through right now. They are working on finding some financial support from some local businesses so that it can be offered for free, and the date is to be decided since they're still working on funding. They're also beginning the stages of the new website and the rebranding marketing campaign. Members of the advisory board, we met with the team at West Edge Collective, which is out of Colorado, a week ago to begin the initial discussions around the brand and logo design. And then we're planning on an end of January website launch with the new logo being revealed at that time as well. The funding around that is coming from Rocky Mountain Power, and then we also have a little bit in our budget as well that's planned for that. So that's pretty exciting. SCDC is also working with a local company here in Sweetwater County that's looking to expand and diversify their business model by shifting into a manufacturing sector. None of the details really can be released around that, but it's a pretty big project, and it's something that, if comes to fruition, is going to be very valuable for our community. So I'm very excited about that. And the Middle Baxter Industrial Development Study is wrapping up in the next few weeks, and the final report is going to be presented after the first of the year. And then Kayla and Eric are going to be presenting that final draft during their 2020 year in review updates in January and February to the county and both of the cities. And lastly, Kayla and Eric wanted me to share that they would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. With broadband, we had a meeting scheduled for later this week, but we actually decided to postpone that until the new year. We have a lot of projects that are wrapping up across the state, and so we wanted to ensure that we could assess what those projects look like in the progress, and then what the current needs will be once they're completed. And then lastly, I just wanted to wish all of our employees and our citizens of Sweetwater County happy holidays. I know this year is going to be different than it's been in the past, and I hope it's a good one. I'd also like to remind everybody to be kind to each other and to realize that there's two very separate opinions around masking, and it's okay to be reasonable and respectful of each other. I guess one thing that I've thought over the past couple of weeks is I've seen a lot of arguing and debate over our social media, is that I've always talked really highly about Sweetwater County as communities that support each other and that have each other's back. And just want to remind everybody to remember this over the holidays and recognize that the divisiveness that we've seen at a national level is trickling down to our local community, and it's not going to help us get through this difficult time. And we're a community that needs to work together and support each other. So that's all that I have.
Thank you. Thank you for the report, Commissioner Shanefield. Any questions for Commissioner Shanefield, commissioners? With that, up next, Commissioner Lloyd.
Okay, well, I haven't had a lot of board meetings since our last meeting, but have been fairly busy to report on some stuff. We were supposed to have a Star Bus meeting last night, but they postponed the meeting, but they are continuing with an abridged schedule and going back to door-to-door scheduled rides and limiting riders to 5. And that seems to be going well with no concerns. So thanks to Mary and her crew and the board of directors for doing a great job and making adjustments and still being able to meet the people's needs. Let's see. I also have met with various department heads, elected officials, over the last couple weeks. I've met with Library Director Grubb, met with the events complex staff, Dave Mead of the museum, Sheriff Grossnickel, Attorney Aramosby. I've been to a couple of COVID update meetings, also met with John DeLeon, Accountant Bonnie Berry, many constituents, which most of the calls have been about one of 3 things, which are essentially all of the same things. Either the importance of people wearing masks, people feeling masks aren't important, and the other calls I've received was feeling that the structure in which we of an unappointed official at the county county health level making mandates, and that's been pretty much the majority of my constituent calls. Also met with Gary McLean and Dave Davis just to gain information and move forward with projects. I've also spent a little time, and I've talked to the director, to United Way, the food bank, and Community Resource Center, just to see how things were going. And it's amazing what those agencies are doing right now, and really a down economic and time of many people struggling. With the last food bank before Thanksgiving, Rock Springs gave over around 450 food boxes out and 171 in Green River. Community Resource Center is helping people at an all-time high. And talking to Kelly at United Way, the requests for donations are significantly up, but the ability for people to give is down. And so we really are in a tough economic time, and just want to give those organizations kudos for the work they're doing to support our community. And I just want to let them know I appreciate their efforts. Strategic planning meeting will happen after our meeting today. It will probably be a shorter meeting, just kind of an update, give assignments, make sure we're on the right direction. But as part of that, I was running the committee to review the liaison committee, which is Dave, Assessor Davis, and Gary McLean, our HR director. And I think we had a really good discussion about the liaison system. And I think before we need to move on, we're going to do a couple of things. I'm going to reach out to our commissioners here and just say for the next meeting, I'll ask if we can put it on the agenda and get with Sally to do that, Doc. But I'd like us to start envisioning and thinking about what we really want from the liaison system. What is our goal? What is our intentions? What do we want the commissioners to do? Because one of the things, I think that Gary said is, even from his perspective of a director, what should he expect from the liaison, and just so we can clear that out. And I think in starting, and then I want to reach out to our directors and the people that have liaisons to see what they want from us. And I think we need to start envisioning what exactly that process should look like, because I think there's different visions of what it needs to look like. And I think getting it back to an original intent would be great. I plan on trying to meet with Commissioner Johnson today to get a little bit of his history, because I know he was part of what started it, and just see if we can start that process and revision that a little bit of what, not necessarily change it, but what are our intentions of the system kind of thing. So that I would like to move forward with that. Also want to let you know, when we talk about people doing a great job, I just want to throw it out to Kim Lionberger and her staff. They're much maligned with everything going on in this situation, but man, they're working hard, and they've done the best job possible with what's been handed to them. And I just want to make sure they know how much we appreciate them. With that being said, I do want to touch quickly the governor's mandate specific to the bars and restaurants closing at 10 o'clock. And I know they're not closing. It's semantics that they just can't serve, and people can't consume in those environments after 10 o'clock. And I actually concerned about some of the adverse effects of that, not just on the economy, but people can buy and then go drink in the parking lot, or people are going to buy and go into large house parties and continue to do what the concern of the large gathering hours. And I just really want to voice that I struggle with that decision a little bit, specifically about closing them at 10 that the governor has made. I think sometimes when we put things in place, there should be at least an explanation of why it was made. And I have assumptions of why I think it was made, but I think clarifications are always really strong. But I just don't think this one seems super logical to me. And I just wanted to make a comment on that. Also, a couple of things, and I'll wrap up. I want to actually thank Mark Cott, who will actually be retiring by the time I see him again. And I just want to thank Mark. When I came into a commission, probably the weakest area that I had was in land use, and that was Wally's strong point. But Mark's been really great in sharing and in giving me information whenever I needed it. And I would still say it probably is one of my weaker points of knowledge, but I just know Mark's been a valued employee at this county in a bunch of different positions throughout the year. And I just have appreciated him over the last 2 years, that anytime I needed to stop by, ask questions, he's always been available. And I know he's made an impact in this committee, in this community, in so many ways. And I just want Mark to know that we're going to miss him, and that I wish him best in his retirement. And I hope he figures out where we can find some of the cutthroat off the Uinta drainage. So we're good for there. And I'm working on that for you still, Mark, with some buddies over there. So with that, I want to echo Lauren a little bit and just wish our employees and the citizens of Sweetwater County a Merry Christmas, especially to our employees. I often say the strength of the county is our employees. And I truly believe that, and hope they have a great year. And I guess with that being said, and I've been a lot longer than I planned on, a little last, but certainly not least here. I started looking at my calendar for the last 6 months, and I was, to my disbelief, I found at least 4 to 5 times where Commissioner Johnson said he actually agreed with me. And that was my goal, was to get to 5 or 6 within a 6 month to a year period. And I accomplished that. And I just want to thank Commissioner Johnson. Being his last meeting, he served this county proudly for a lot of years. And I can tell you, there have been days Wally and I've seen eye to eye, and the days we don't. And as Wally always says, that's why there's 5 of us. And I think we've done a really good job in a commission to have 5 different viewpoints to do what's best for the citizens of Sweetwater County and listen to each other. And I just want to thank Wally for the information he's given me. It's going to be odd to come into a meeting and not stop by his office and ask a question or say good morning. But I know that he's got a heart of gold for this county and works harder for this county than anyone else, than most people. And we've been blessed to have him serve this county, and I've been blessed to call him a compadre and a friend. So I just want to congratulate Mr. Commissioner Johnson on just great years of service to this county. And it truly is appreciated, I'm sure, by many citizens and definitely by me. So any questions?
Thank you. Commissioner Lloyd, questions, commissioners? Good report. Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. Up next, Commissioner Johnson.
Could I get Roy to repeat that last part again?
Yeah, I did it.
I recorded it, Wally, and I'm going to send it to you by email. And I know you'll never be able to probably hear it again, but I am going to resend it to you.
Thanks, Roy. The first thing I have is Public Works Department report. Buildings, the hot water boiler replacement went very well at the detention center last week. The contractor and maintenance staff were able to get the old boiler removed and the new boiler installed and running in approximately 36 hours. That's an awesome undertaking. Well done. The County Commissioner Board room COVID updates are wrapping up. The AV contractor is installing everything in the room this week. The remainder of the furniture will be moved in when the AV contractor has completed his balancing. We have received the final drawings for the Lagoon Road Consolidated Facility and are slowly reviewing them. Engineering, we have reviewed the conceptual design of the new grinder pump for the detention center sanitary sewer line. This project will go out to bid early this spring. The Folsom Pyramid Lester Drive Road project is undergoing its 25% review. The project will bid in March 2021. Road and Bridge. We have taken advantage of the lack of snow and have one of our plows in Salt Lake City getting the new stainless steel sander installed. We will continue to look at the long-term forecast, and if weather permits, we will send another 2 sanders down to Salt Lake City, one at a time, for installation and fabrication of the sanders. On 12/10, the CLG met in Kemmer, and obviously I was there. And it's going to be a very significant change in CLG with Kent Conley and myself stepping aside. There will be a reorganization of that organization in probably the next meeting in January. And I just feel very good about having Mary Tolman there, because Mary, every meeting I've been there for 14 years, Mary's been there. And in addition to other meetings with federal agencies, Mary's always been there. And I honestly say, and I mean this, that Mary Tolman has more knowledge about what's going on with federal lands than I do. She's taught me a lot, and I think the county is going to be well served by having Mary at the CLG. And needless to say, with Conley and myself leaving, we've been a key part of that organization for a long time, and I wish them well, but I have reservations of how effective that organization might be in the future. With that said, I appreciate everything that has been said about me. Obviously, I've fooled you people for a long time, and I appreciate that very much. But I'd also like to thank Mark Cott publicly. Mark Cotton, he's been a very good source of input and meeting going and understanding over the years that I've been associated with Mark. He's been here as long as I have. He's probably been here as long as all of us put together have been here. But Mark's been a very, very effective employee of the county, and he's a good example of something that I've believed for a long while. You hire good people and you let them do their jobs, and that's what's happened with Mark. And I've worked well with him, and we wouldn't have been as effective with all the land issues that we have been, and I do believe we have been, if it wasn't for Mark Cott. So I wish Mark well, and I wish all of you, my co-commissioners, well. It's been a pleasure serving with you, and I hope to see great progress in the county in the future. And if there's no progress, you're going to hear on that comment from the public, you'll hear public comments from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Any questions for Commissioner Johnson? Good report. Thank you. I guess I'm up next. And first of all, I would just like to say that commissioners, you will see that Sally mailed out to you this last week before she left a letter of support for the grant out of the University of Wyoming. And it's a letter of support for University of Wyoming School of Energy Resources application for carbon ore, rare earth, and critical minerals initiative for the U.S. basins. Primarily, it's reference Green River Basin and this area. So I sent that out with you, sent that out to everybody, and had made the comment that we would look at it during my comments. And what was being asked is that we could write a letter of support to the research, the Center for Economic Geology Research, School of Energy in University of Wyoming and Laramie, and that type of thing. So I hope you had an opportunity to look at it when Sally sent it out. I know Commissioner Johnson, I was a little concerned when it came out email and Sally being gone. I did get you a hard copy and that type of thing. And my question would be to the commissioners is what's your thoughts about that letter of support that if you had an opportunity to review it, if we as a commission would like to send it as support for that grant.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson.
I have reviewed that, and I think it's a good letter, and I think we should support that effort. And there's one point I forgot to bring up in my report, and I want Commissioner Smith to understand that when he speaks, we listen. And you'll notice in that Public Works report there were quite a few pictures, and those are for Commissioner Smith. And if he would like them autographed by Mr. Legursky, we can arrange for that.
Very good. Thank you. So
Much appreciated. No, I need all the pictures I can get. Thank you.
I'm kind of like you, Mr. Commissioner Smith. I like a good comic book. So a lot of pictures, few words. Thank you. Other commissioners, your thoughts about the letter of support?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Shanefield.
I agree with Commissioner Johnson. I think it's a good letter, and I think it's something that we should support.
Okay, Commissioner Lloyd.
I would just say ditto to both.
Okay,
I would agree.
Commissioner Smith.
Absolutely agree as well. Yes.
All right, so I do have, Sally does have a hard copy ready. So if it would be all right, I'd ask that the commissioners make a motion of letter of support and second, and then we'll all sign it when we sign documents later this morning.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson.
I make a motion that we approve this letter dated December 15th, 2020 from David Bagdonis, and all of the commissioners should sign said document.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and all commissioners sign the letter of support. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, commissioners. We'll get it sent off. And I might qualify by saying it does, as this moves forward and gets into the second phase, it will allow for a seat at the table for that particular project. So it's a good move. Thank you. Also, the mayor from Granger called this last week and wanted me to pass on a thank you to you as commissioners for support of surplus vehicles to the town of Granger. Very much appreciates it, and the employees and the town of Granger will use those very, very much so for the operations of the city of Granger or the town of Granger, and they thank you very much for allowing that to happen. Also, just to let commissioners know, this last week we had WCCA had its winter meeting in Sally's office, or in the front office before you go into Sally's office now, are some little, I don't know what you want to call them, little packages from WCCA from the office for each one of us. So stop in there and pick those up. There's insulated cups and popcorn, a face covering and that type of thing, and some other little treats in there from that meeting for each of you. So don't forget to stop and pick those up. The other aspect is there's 2 cases of face coverings in the office there sitting by a file cabinet that were provided by WCCA, and therefore whatever purpose, whatever we decide, so they're there. So I would suggest that if we have any departments or we have any place in the county that needs some face coverings, please stop by and please pick them up, because they are there in the case, and they are available for county buildings or anywhere in the county. So with that, the other thing I would ask that commissioner support from the standpoint that starting in January, we start moving into setting up joint meetings with the 2 cities of the city of Green River and Rock Springs, with their councils and us as county. And also at some point in time, we need to include the 4 towns in the county. My sense is even as we move forward and there possibly is another CARES Act money coming in, that type of thing, I still honestly feel that we need to have those joint conversations, if nothing else through budget, from the standpoint that we do have some joint ventures that we need to be on the same page. But even more so, I'm a firm believer that the way our valuation is and revenue is, not only for the county, but for the 2 cities as well as 4 towns, that we need to get together and start working together, because I truly believe individually it'll be tough for us to survive, but as a joint effort, it'll be easier. So I would like to know if the commissioners, if I talk with the 2 mayors to move forward with setting up a joint meeting facilitated by the commission and that type of thing on Zoom, if there's anybody that would object to that.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Lloyd?
I won't object to it, but I'll speak highly in favor. I think as we look at strategic planning and we look at moving forward with different processes and in all the different avenues going on, economic development, quality of life, helping rebuild the economy, I think it's essential that we're all meeting and having some common ground. So I applaud you and the 2 mayors for looking forward and doing this. So
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield?
I would like to include a 6 penny discussion in with that as well.
Okay, I think.
See if people are interested in continuing with that, and if so, then we'll move forward with the work on that.
Yeah, I think with that comment, my thinking was to bring them together first and say, hey, how viable is this? And then as individual groups come back with what are the topics we need to have. And my whole desire, Commissioner Shanefield, is 6 penny probably will be one of the many, and then prioritize those. So I agree with you. My hopes is that'll come out of it as well. So thank you. But
thank you.
We'll work towards that direction. Any others? All right, I'll continue to work towards that and see if we can't get things rocking and rolling right after the first of the year. With that, just a couple more things. I too would like to thank Commissioner Johnson on behalf of Sweetwater County and all of its citizens. Commissioner Johnson, well over, I believe, 12 years of service as a commissioner. I want to thank you for that. 12 years, more than that. Right, Wally?
14.
14, thank you. As a commissioner and as a leader in this county, and I want to thank you for your work. And many people have gotten a hold of me and wanted to make sure that that was passed on. So Commissioner Johnson, thank you so very much. And then going back to Mark Cott, he is one of the many retirees in the county. As you know, commissioners, we approved a early retirement for 11 employees, plus I think there may have been 1 or 2 others that may come up that aren't part of that. But anyhow, I'd like to congratulate all those people and thank them for their services to the county and for what they've done over the years. I Everything Commissioner Lloyd has said about Commissioner Johnson, I agree with, and everything that he's said about the other employees as retirees, Mark Cott and everybody else, it all goes in the same direction. And I just want to thank everybody for the services they've given to Sweetwater County, and the county's a better place for it. It raises the bar for all of us to continue. So we will continue to strive to make sure that that bar continues to be raised. So Commissioner Johnson, thank you for your service, your time, due diligence, and thank you to all the retirees for their services. And then to the rest of the employees of Sweetwater County, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Thank you for all the service that you've done, not only on past years, but this year, especially as difficult as it is. And then also want everybody to please be patient with each other as we move forward. There's still some difficult times. I believe the federal government's going to be there to offer assistance, but I don't know if it's going to be in the areas that are going to help the county where it's needed the most, but we can only hope. But so with patience and that, and we work together, we can get through this. So thank you, commissioners. I'll stand for any questions. That concludes my report. With that, last one up, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate that. First off, I want to say thank you to Marty Dernovich and her crew in purchasing. They've had difficult times, understaffed, and been able to continue on with all of the responsibilities that they've had. And thanks to the county as well for being kind in understanding their shortage. And Marty does a great job over there, and so does the rest of the crew. And just wanted to thank them for all that they're doing, and we appreciate what they are doing. I do have airport board meeting this week. It was rescheduled because of travel and holidays and things. So kind of status quo there. Hospital boards met last week and week before. Very grateful for the hard work that everybody is doing at the hospital, as we saw an uptick in not only cases and testing, but also in hospitalizations. And the way that the hospital has handled it has just been great. Nobody wants this. Nobody has asked for this challenge, but Irene Richardson and the rest of those that are working with her, including the board, have really done just a great job, I think, to do the best that they can. And I'm so grateful for them and all of the work that they're doing as well. So.
You're muted, Jeff.
Also wanted to bring up a couple things about coronavirus and say kudos to our county, just a little kudos, not a big one, but we have seen our positivity rate, the 14-day rolling average positivity rate, drop from in the 20s, somewhere around 22-23%. We're down to 17.1% on the latest numbers that came out today. So that's good. We were worried about a spike after the Thanksgiving holiday. And so while 17% still puts us in the high category, we're going the right direction, I guess is what I would say. So continue on with what you're doing. And, here comes the Christmas holidays. So, yes, the vaccine is coming, but it's going to be slow. So let's continue to do our best. And also wanted to echo and add on to the comments from Commissioner Lloyd about the restaurants, bars closing down early. I'm disappointed in that. Much like Roy, I'd like to see the research or the numbers behind that. Why is that happening? The numbers that I've been given lately this past week, and as far as research goes, shows that about 2, maybe 3% of the spread of the virus is happening at restaurants and bars. 73% is happening at family gatherings. And so, I guess it's numbers, and yes, we'd like to not have that 2 or 3% happening, but in reality, is that really helping us, the damage that it's doing to those? And having owned 4 restaurants previously and knowing the struggle, I mean, it is a fine line you're almost always walking on. It's razor thin many times, and at this time of year, a lot of those places rely on parties and groups and gatherings that aren't going to happen this year already. And now to further restrict them, I feel is just a little overboard and not what we really need. The governor's talked about following the science and following the advice that he's getting, and we haven't heard of where this advice came from. And so I am disappointed with that, and would like to see better reasoning behind it rather than just the assumption that that's where it's happening, and that's something we can control when we can't control family gatherings. So that's my words there. I also want to thank Mark Cott. Excellent work. He's just been a rock solid, someone we can turn to all the time when we have questions, and will be missed greatly for sure. And so the work that he's done has been tremendous. And also want to say thanks to Wally, Commissioner Johnson. He's been something of a mentor to me. We've talked a lot and spent time together. I'm sure I'll be reaching out to him for advice and just chatting, about things that we'd like to chat about that maybe aren't as appropriate when we're commissioners. So I think we will have some good fun together. I do have a couple presents for Wally, but with the lovely COVID going on, I won't be presenting those to you today, but I will be getting them to you shortly, and just a little something. So hopefully it'll remind you that we are all grateful and thankful for the service you've provided here and the knowledge you brought. You work your whole life to gain the knowledge and the skills that you have. And a lot of people figure, great, I did that, and now it's time to just kind of coast off into the sunset and enjoy quiet time. But you were willing to take that knowledge that you have, which is expansive, and put it to work for the county and the residents here in the county. So kudos to you. Thank you to you. I'll call you a good friend, and I guess I won't be calling you commissioner anymore, and we'll see. I don't know what you're running for next, but you have my vote, whatever that is. So thank you, Wally, and that's what I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Any questions for Commissioner Smith?
Just thanks, Jeff. I appreciate what your comments are, and also Doc and Roy. Appreciate everything there.
Thank you. No further questions. That concludes our commissioner reports. Our next agenda item, tab C, is the audit report or review. That will be by Ms. Berry and Ms. Noose, but that's scheduled for 9:40. Commissioners, it's 9:25 right now. Let's take a 15-minute break and be back here at 9:40 for our first action or presentation items. Thank you. We'll take a break. Sure.
Mike, it still says we're recording live.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah, go ahead. And I'm waiting for Mr. Lloyd to get back. And is Cindy Lane on?
Yes, Cindy's here.
Okay, very good. Long as Cindy, because she's doing the minutes. I'm just waiting for Commissioner Lloyd, please.
If Eric Nelson is in the waiting room, he's actually the owner of Wyoming Downs, and he was going to try to join as well.
I have Jill, I believe it's Jill Gerard.
That's me.
Okay. Oh, Jill, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't recognize your voice, but you say you have, who else is with you?
Eric Nelson, if he's in the waiting room, he was going to try to join too.
All right, Mr. Hart, we will allow him to join as well when we get to that agenda item, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
I haven't seen him come into the waiting room yet, but I'll watch for him.
Thank you. Okay. I believe Commissioner Lloyd, are you on? If you want to take our break screen off, Mr. Hart. Very good. I see Commissioner Lloyd. Okay, I'll call this meeting for December 15th, 2020 Board of County Commissioners back to order. With that, moving on with our action and presentation items. First up under tab C, we have a fiscal year 2020 audit update. And with us today is Miss Bonnie Berry. And Bonnie, please, is this information I believe you emailed, just an update, no action to be taken?
That's correct.
All right, then would you please, when I give you the floor, please introduce who's with you. Good morning, Amber. So go ahead, Miss Berry, the floor is yours.
Good morning, Chairman and Commissioners. As Chairman Wendling said, there's no action to be taken today. Usually at this meeting, we present the report and also take action on it to approve it. But because of the CARES Act and the lack of guidance issued thus far, we will not be taking action on this today. We'll just be presenting it, and hopefully in January, if the guidance comes out, we can finalize this and take action on it in January.
Thank you.
So Amber will be she'll be reviewing the report today for you, and you're welcome to ask any questions that you have on it. Amber is a partner at MHP, our audit firm, and they've been working diligently on this audit since July, or possibly before that. First I hear from them is July, but I'm sure they do planning prior to that. So it's always a long process every year. But it went fairly smoothly, we'll say that. Maybe Amber has a different opinion, but I will now turn the time over to her to present the report.
Thank you, Bonnie. Hello, commissioners. Good morning. It's good to see you all via Zoom. Sorry we couldn't be together, but I'm glad we could at least video conference and I could present the audit report to you this way. So it's great to see everybody. I hope everyone's been staying safe and healthy, and thank you for having me. So as Bonnie mentioned, I'm here today to present the draft, close to final draft of our audit report. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to Bonnie and all those at the county that helped us through the audit process. As Bonnie mentioned, it is definitely a long process and a large project that we complete each year, but we certainly couldn't do that with the help of Bonnie and all the folks in the treasurer's office, clerk's office, component units that answer our hundreds of questions that we ask each year. So thank you to everyone for your help. I would agree with Bonnie that the process was pretty smooth this year. We did come across a couple of findings that I'll go over with you. And please ask questions as I'm talking and going through those. But I do think one of the most important points is that we are not able to issue this in final form just yet. As Bonnie mentioned, the federal government is issuing a updated compliance supplement addendum that gives us the rules of the game to play by as it relates to the CARES Act funding. And as you may know, the county did receive, I think it was about $300,000 of CARES Act funds that are reported in the audit. And so we basically need that guidance from the feds before we can put our final stamp of approval on the audit. To be honest, we don't really think that there's going to be much work, or if any work, that comes out of that addendum once it's issued by the feds, but we don't know what we don't know. So we have to wait until they issue that. That's supposed to come out this week. They said that it was supposed to be out a month ago and it's still not here. So we're really at their mercy in terms of when that comes out. When it does, we'll take a quick look at it. Hopefully there won't be much extra work, if any, needed, and then we'll be able to present this for final approval to you guys. But because we're 95% done, I'm happy to go through the audit report with you today as it's a final draft. So having said that, I'll jump right in. As I normally do each year, I'll spend about 10 or 15 minutes kind of going through the report. It's very large, as you know, to the tune of 90 pages. So I'll skim, touch some highlights. If you have any questions as I'm going through, please interrupt. Really, our deliverables to you include 4 components. There's 3 letters within the large financial report document that I'll go over first, and then we have a separate letter that we refer to as our audit committee letter that I'll go over at the end. So just to dive right in, hopefully you have the draft financial report in front of you electronically, because I'll be kind of going through that in sequential order. But pages 1 and 2 of that large financial report is our audit opinion. That's our first letter to you. You'll see if you read through that what we're issuing to you as part of this year's audit for the year ended June 30, 2020 is an unmodified audit opinion. That's another way of saying it's a clean audit opinion. We consider these financial statements to be fairly stated in all material respects in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. We do make reference to the other auditors that are engaged to audit the hospital's financial statements. We rely solely on their audit report and incorporate that into the county's full audit report as it relates to the hospital. So we did not do any procedures on that segment. If you move forward through the audit or through the financial report, the next section, pages 4 through 11, is the management's discussion and analysis. This is really the only spot in the report that you'll find comparatives and some explanation and operational highlights. So I'd encourage you to read through that when you get the chance. But if you jump to page 12, this is where the actual financial statements start. As you may recall, there's really 2 sets of financial statements in this financial report. There's one that's referred to as government-wide statements, which start on page 12. There's also a second set of financials, essentially, that are on a modified accrual basis, which I'll touch on in a second. But these government-wide statements on page 12 are a full accrual basis of accounting. It's really a long-term perspective, which you'd really see in a for-profit type entity. You'll see on page 12, the primary government is separated from the component units in columns, and you'll see total assets of about $174 million for the county itself as of June 30, 2020. The liabilities are on page 13 of the county. I usually do touch base on 2 significant liabilities that exist on the county's balance sheet here on page 13. The first one is the total OPEB obligation, which you'll see kind of a third of the way down the page. That's about $6.3 million for the primary government at June 30, 2020. That's an increase of about 34% from the year before. And that did spike up a little bit, mainly because of a change in assumptions. An actuary is engaged to calculate that liability, and what that liability relates to is the cost essentially for the county to allow the retirees to stay on the health insurance plan. So the discount rate that's used in that actuarial calculation decreased this year, which caused the liability to increase. The other big liability is the net pension liability. Just a few rows below that, you'll see that's about $15.9 million for the county. at June 30th and about 13.4 million for the governmental component units at June 30. This is the participation in Wyoming retirement system. So as you would expect, that Wyoming retirement system plan continues to be not 100% funded. And so that portion of the unfunded liability of Wyoming retirement system, the county has to report their proportionate share or their sliver of that on their financials. And that's what this liability represents. So the good news is that liability did decrease quite a bit compared to the prior years. Last year for the county, it was about 23 million. This year it dropped down to about 15.9. And that's really because the funded percentage of the Wyoming retirement system plan did spike up. And since it's more well-funded, the liability decreased. So those are kind of the big line items to point out there. The net position on page 13 is the equity of the county on this basis of accounting. And the second to bottom row, unrestricted, is really the equity at the county that's not externally restricted or tied up in infrastructure or other property and equipment. And so you'll see for the county itself, excluding component units, it's about 22 million for the end of the year. Page 14 is the income statement for this basis of accounting. You'll see that the Maine County had a loss of about 389,000, 3 rows from the bottom of that statement. The numbers are pretty consistent year on year in that statement, so nothing really to point out there. If you move forward to page 15, this is the second set of financial statements on the modified accrual basis of accounting that I pointed out. So this is fund level statements. If you want to see how the general fund is performing or any of the other non-major governmental funds, these are the statements you'd look at. These have a more short-term focus, so you're not going to see property and equipment or long-term debt recorded on these statements, but they give you a good perspective sort of from a shorter term point of view. You'll see the general fund column, they're separated from the rest. If you look at the fund balance section, that's the equity terminology for this type of statement. And all those rows in the fund balance section essentially outline which portions of the equity are sort of already spoken for and at what level. So the restricted rows are externally restricted balances. The committed rows are areas where the board has taken formal action to commit those funds to a certain purpose. If you drop to the bottom, there's an unassigned row, and that's really the equity that's not spoken for at all in any form, and that's about 25 million, as you'll see for June 30, 2020. Within the rest of the statements, there are reconciliations between those two different types of statements that I mentioned. Page 17 is the income statement for the general fund and the other governmental funds. Overall, there was a drop in fund balance of about 1.6 million for the fiscal year. Page 19 is where the financials are for the self-insured health insurance plan that the county has for the employees. That's referred to as the county's proprietary fund, and we call that the internal service insurance fund. There is equity in that fund of about 2.7 million, which is a healthy reserve to fund that health insurance plan. That's about 31% of the expenditures that fund experienced for the fiscal year, and that represents about 3.7 months worth of expenses if the county were to need to fund the claims for that health insurance plan. That could last 3.7 months. Page 20 is the income statement for that internal service insurance fund. It dropped about 340,000 for the year. And then if you jump to page 22, this is what we call the statement of fiduciary net position. That's the money that the county holds on behalf of others relating to property tax receipts. That was about 18.6 million that the county's holding on behalf of others at year end. The detailed financial statements for the discretely presented component units of a governmental fund type, which is all of them except the hospital, start on page 23. The big thing you'll notice on these financial statements this year is that the recreation board's gone from those since that board merged into the county's general fund on July 1st, 2019. So there's one less column than what you've seen in years before. These are on a full accrual basis of accounting. So you see all the fixed assets and the long-term liabilities there. And you can look at those for more detail by component unit if you wish. The footnotes to the financial statements is where you're going to see all the detail on different balance types. It starts on page 27. 27 through 32 discloses to you all the county's accounting policies, and there's been no changes in those since the year before. So it's really an apples to apples comparison there. Footnote 2 on page 32 is a new footnote that just gives you a bit more detail on the Recreation Board's merger into the main county and shows you basically the before and after effect of the equity balances as of July 1 when that shifted over. Note 3 gives you a lot of detail on the cash and investment balances of the county. There's about 61 million of cash and investments at the county, plus about 10 more million held on behalf of others. And it shows all the detail for the component units as well. Anything that's has a credit rating that the county holds is the safest rating of AAA at the end of the year. And the majority of all the investments are less than 1 year or 1 to 5 year maturity. So if you jump from there to page 5, I just want to point out the significant estimate that exists, or one of the significant estimates in the county's financials relating to Southwest Counseling's receivables. They do record an allowance for doubtful accounts, meaning receivables for services they charge for, but they don't expect to collect those balances. They reserve about 74% of those receivables, which is consistent with years past. And that's just an estimate that we take a close look at as part of the audit that's outlined there for you. Footnote 7 on page 37 gives you a lot of detail about the Wyoming retirement system and the county's participation in that plan. Page 39 has a nice little table on the top half that outlines the liability by segment. So by component unit, how much is allocated to each component unit, and then at the county itself, how much is law enforcement and how much is public employees. So that's a nice chart. The other chart I'd point out in this footnote is on page 43, which is a sensitivity chart. And I know I've talked about this in years past, but given this is an actuarially calculated liability, it's considered an estimate, and a significant one at that. And it has high estimation uncertainty, which means if they change one of their assumption factors in the calculation, it could have large swings in the outcome. That's what this table on page 43 is showing you. The discount rate is one of the main assumptions used in the liability calculation, and that's currently set at 7%. If they were to adjust that discount rate assumption by 1% up or down, this table shows you how drastically the liability would increase or decrease just from that one assumption. So for example, in the public employee counties plan, it would drop the liability almost 7 million if they increase the discount rate 1%. So that's a big shift. The capital asset activities outlined on page 44 in footnote 10. And the other big footnote I usually point out is on page 54. That is the other post-employment benefit plan where the retirees are allowed to stay on the health insurance plan that I mentioned earlier. That liability is sitting at about 6.2 million. And there's a lot of detail in that footnote for you there. If you jump to, that kind of covers the footnotes. If you jump to page 58, just a quick note that there's budgetary comparisons in this report. We do present the budgetary comparison for the general fund. And I just wanted to note that there were no budgetary overages in fiscal year 2020 that we would need to report to you. There's a lot of other detail and supporting schedules in the supplementary information. The other big one is on page 74, and that's the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So that'll show you the detail of the federal programs that the county expended money on in fiscal year 2020. The total is about 6.68 million on page 70 or on page 76. And we basically, as part of our audit, select certain programs that are listed on this 3-page schedule, and we audit those programs. This year, we've audited 3 and we're in progress on a 4th one, which I'll talk about here in a second. Page 70, page 83 is probably the next best page to jump to. This page does talk about the 4 programs on the schedule of expenditures of federal awards that we did select to audit. As part of our audit, we're required to select at least 20% of the dollars and get coverage over testing at least 20%. We've done that with these 4 programs. We don't really factor in the PILT program, payments in lieu of taxes, because there's really no requirements to what you have to spend that money on. So there's really nothing much to test there. So if you factor that out, we also tested TANF, Homeland Security Grant Program, and we're in the process of testing Community Services Block Grant. And so those 3 programs will get us the 20% coverage that we needed. When you add PILT in, it just goes higher from there. But that's the work we performed there in federal compliance. Pages 78 and 80 are 2 more letters that we deliver to you as part of our audit deliverables. And this is where our findings are reported, and we give you details of those starting on page 84. So the first of those 2 letters is our government auditing standards letter, pages 78 and 79. So this is where we do perform certain procedures to comply with government auditing standards. That means we take a closer look at the county's internal controls over financial reporting, and we take a closer look at compliance with laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements. This year, we did identify 1 finding in the area of internal controls and 1 finding in the area of compliance. Those are outlined starting on page 84. So if you jump to 84, finding 2020-001 is named collateralization of deposits. This is the 1 finding we identified in the compliance area. So as you know, there's a state statute that requires all the county's funds to be fully collateralized at all times. We identified during the audit that at June 30, 2020, the county was under collateralized by about $387,000 within 1 bank account. And so that's what we were reporting to you in the first finding as a matter of non-compliance that you need to be aware of. I know Rob has instituted a corrective action plan that's been attached to this report, and instituted some additional processes and procedures to ensure that that under collateralization doesn't happen again. But that's the first finding. The second finding, which is titled Internal Controls and Audit Adjustment to Intergovernmental Revenue, relates to the internal controls piece of our work. So if we identify any internal control matters or deficiencies that we consider to be significant or material, they go in writing here to you. Material is the most severe level of a deficiency in internal controls. Significant is a tier below that. We've identified this deficiency as significant, so the lower tier of the 2, but nonetheless, we believe it warrants your attention as a commission. And that's what's reported in finding 2020-002. It relates to Southwest Counseling's reporting of its revenue and receivables related to grants. And what we identified was that the intergovernmental revenue was underreported by about $678,000. Southwest Counseling retains or keeps their books on a cash basis throughout the year. So there's a process at the end of the year to convert that to an accrual basis. And during that conversion, I think there was just a simple miscommunication that occurred between Southwest Counseling and the county that prevented that revenue from being recorded on the books. And so we identified that and added that as an audit adjustment as part of our audit process. So that's that finding. Our third letter to you relates specifically to our work on the federal programs. And that's when I was mentioning to you, we audited 4 programs or are auditing for. Our letter that we deliver to you is on page 80 and 81, relating specifically to our work on those 4 federal programs. So we actually do issue an opinion to you in terms of our review of the county's compliance with the directed material compliance requirements that relate to those major programs. And we are issuing a clean opinion on our audit of those 4 major programs. However, there is one matter that we did identify relating to internal controls over those one of those programs, or the CIFA in general, I guess I should say, that we are reporting to you in finding 20-003. We are considering this a significant deficiency, which again is that lower tier, but it is a matter of non-compliance. And we want to bring to your attention on page 85 is where we outline that finding. And it's just called Schedule of Expenditures of Federal Awards. And it actually ties into the Southwest Counseling revenue finding I just discussed. But as we were doing some work looking at that revenue that was missing and tying it to the related expenditures on the grant, we did identify that there were 2 pieces of expenditures from federal programs missing from the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. They're shown there on page 85, about $40,000 for the block grant for community mental health and about $217,000 for substance abuse. And so at that point, we needed to add those expenditures to the CIFA to make sure the CIFA was a complete presentation of the county's federal awards that were expended. When we added those 2 amounts to the CIFA, it threw us under that 20% coverage threshold that we had to obtain as part of our audit. And so that's why we had to select the CSBG program, Community Services Block Grant Program, as a 4th program to audit, so we could obtain 20% coverage as required by the rules. And we are in the process of auditing that CSBG program right now. So that's probably the other open item besides the CARES Act compliance supplement addendum that we're waiting on. We've sent selections off to the county and don't anticipate any issues in that testing, but we do need to complete that. And hope to have that done ASAP. If anything comes of that testing that results in modifications to this report, we'll be certain to let you know before you're able to make a final approval of this report once the addendum comes out. That covers everything in the main financial report. The only other item I wanted to go over was our 4th deliverable to you, and that separate audit committee letter I mentioned at the beginning. Hopefully you have a separate document in draft form for the audit committee letter. This just communicates to you items we're required to let you know about under our professional standards in your role as those charged with governance of the county. So just to touch on a few highlights of that letter, we do report to you any significant or unusual transactions we encounter during the audit on the bottom of the first page of this letter. And you'll see there we're letting you know about or highlighting the Recreation Board's merger into the county there, which we took a close look at during the audit. The second page of this letter lists out all the estimates that we consider to be significant within the county's financials. Of course, as you'd expect, significant estimates in general could be prone to bias or subjectivity. So we spend a little extra time looking at those during our audit procedures. The county has 4 that we're communicating to you here in this letter. One is the reserve against the receivables at Southwest Counseling, which I already mentioned. The next 2 relate to the liabilities I talked about, the other post-employment benefit plan for county retirees staying on health insurance, and the Wyoming retirement system liability we talked about. And the last one, which I sort of mentioned but didn't directly, is the claims liability relating to the county's self-insured health insurance plan. The estimates provided by UMR, the United Healthcare Company, in terms of their estimate of claims that have been incurred but not yet reported to the county relating to health insurance. So we take a look at that too closely during the audit. The next page of this letter just makes reference, if you care to look at any of the adjustments that were posted during the audit, those are attached to a representation letter that will be finalized when we can finalize the audit report. But we do communicate to you here. We had no disagreements with management. We're not aware of any consultations management had with other accountants, sort of shopping for second opinions or anything like that. We didn't identify or discuss any significant issues with management that we feel we need to make you aware of, and certainly no significant difficulties encountered in performing the audit to make you aware of here. So that covers everything in our draft deliverables. Again, I just reiterate my thanks to Bonnie and all those at the county who've helped us countless hours of their time to get through the audit. We appreciate that very much. And I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has about the reports.
Thank you, Amber. Thank you, Bonnie. Commissioners, any questions regarding the report? No questions? That's good, I guess. Did a good job of explaining it then, Amber. We appreciate that. Bonnie, thank you for that. Anything else, commissioners? Bonnie, is there anything you need to add?
No.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Johnson, thank you.
All right, it'll be my last chance to tell Amber this, but to Amber, as usual, you've done an outstanding job every time I've been involved with that audit, and appreciate that very much. And the people of Sweetwater County also, because that's very important to them to know how good of a job the county is doing with their money, and appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Anybody else? Well, with that, we'll look forward to the finalization brought forward to us at some point in time for us to approve the audit. But this was a great update, Amber and Bonnie, and thank you for both of your hard work on it. And I can only echo Commissioner Johnson's comments. Amber's 6 years I've been on since you've been doing the audit for the county. It just seems like every year it's just a pure showing of how well the county is doing, and also especially on the part of our citizens, those few things, the findings that you find are things that can be taken care of and taken care of rather quickly with a action plan. And we appreciate you working with us on that. So thank you, Amber. Thank you, Bonnie. If there's anything else, Bonnie, we'll move on.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Amber. Be safe and Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
All righty. Moving on, commissioners. Next up is tab D, the Wyoming Downs request to operate within existing establishments within Sweetwater County. With that approval to is a resolution that will be presented, I believe, by Ms. Gerard. Jill, are you there?
I am.
And Jill, I believe you said we would have another individual joining us. So would you please, first of all, introduce yourself and who you're with, and then also introduce whoever else is on with you, please.
Hi, excuse me, I'm Jill Gerard with Wyoming Downs. And Eric, I don't know if Eric Nelson, did you get on?
Eric's on.
Yes, I did, Jill.
Eric Nelson is the owner of Wyoming Downs.
Very good. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We sent the resolution over, so I hope you all had a chance to see it. We are seeking approval to allow pari-mutuel wagering machines that are currently operating in the large OTB locations around the state. We are seeking approval to operate those in what we call small sites. And when we say small sites, what we're talking about is bars. We just like the opportunity to place 4 machines in bars that are interested in participating with us. And we're seeking your approval, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thank you, commissioners. We know there is a resolution attached, but first of all, if you get a chance to review that resolution, what questions, before there's any questions, Eric, is there anything you wish to add?
Yeah, basically, this is a solution for bar owners. Last year during the legislation period, they approved skill game-based games. And so they're allowing statewide, without a county or city approval, which is fine, that they could have these machines in approved locations. And they have them in approximately 200 locations throughout the state. And those are going to be, they have 4 units. And so many of the bar owners throughout the state said, hey, we would like to team up with the equipment that we have. Our tax base is a little higher. That's coming in off of our games and the games of skill. It does allow us to compete with the games of skill, but more importantly, the bar owners enjoy it. It's kind of a cashless system too for the bar owners. So currently, if you have machines, skill game machines, the bartender has to pay the tickets off out of the cash register, and that does acquire some accounting. Basically, with our system, they'll have an NRT, what we call kind of an ATM, so ticket in, ticket out. The bar owners are relieved of any of the cash requirements to different customers. The customers seem to enjoy it. So we're just out there competing with the bar owners and giving them a solution and being more competitive in the marketplace.
Thank you, Eric. With that, commissioners, any questions for either Ms. Gerard or Mr. Nelson?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson?
I'd just like to ask the question, what do you anticipate the impact would be on in Sweetwater County for the number of bars that would participate in this?
Well, very good question, Mr. Commissioners. Basically, the owners of the bars and their clients, they don't do a lot of crossover, meaning that the OTBs that are currently operating in Rock Springs will not be really affected by it, we don't believe. If anything, it would be in a positive mode where people will actually be introduced to the terminals. Of course, we contribute money to the Breeders Fund, which is several $1 million now. And so the breeders throughout Wyoming take advantage of a tax that's levied on these machines of 0.04. The counties get 0.5 and the cities get 0.5, but the breeders get 0.4. So that adds up considerably, and that benefits the racing at Sweetwater Downs.
I understand that, but that's not my question.
I'm sorry.
How many additional locations in Sweetwater County do you think would be affected? Additional?
Oh, as far as the number of locations of bars?
That would have these machines in them?
I would say you're probably looking at 5 or 6 facilities in Rock Springs, and maybe 2 or 3 in some of the other small towns.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioners, other questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lloyd.
Yeah, I have a question, and this may actually end up at Deputy De Leon, actually. In our public comment, we heard from an individual who said that that each location should be has to be approved by the county commission and the gaming commission. What we're getting from Mr. Nelson is a little bit different based upon the resolution. So could you give us your opinion, Attorney De Leon?
Sure. I think the Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Lloyd, I think the comments from the public were geared towards the concern that they wanted the commission to consider if the commission signs this particular resolution, this resolution doesn't have any end dates. We've talked about it before in terms of some circumstances. We talked about it with housing. We talked about it in a couple of different situations where the commission chose to put a time frame on a particular resolution. That is certainly something that this commission could do with this resolution. The commission's options would be, number one, to accept the resolution as is. Option number two would be to place in the very last paragraph, the last sentence, where it is identified that simulcast events at existing bars and legally authorized establishments within Sweetwater County through potentially June 30th, 2021. You could ask Ms. Gerard and Mr. Nelson to put that specific through June 30th, 2021 on there. Obviously, the commission could choose to not approve, not make a motion at all. The reason I mentioned Commissioner Lloyd, that specific June 30th, 2021, Commissioner Shainfeld asked about prior, what legislation had come down. House Bill 171 was approved in June, July. And what that did is it authorized the continued use of skill-based amusement games until June 30th of 2021. And so I think some of the comments that you were receiving were asking that this was tabled until further information from the legislature. The difficulty with that is that you would be waiting through June 30th before the legislature may address it again. So, you know, and then you don't collect any data between now and then. And so there's a downside to simply just staying put and waiting and not keeping the status quo. So that wouldn't maintain the status quo if the commission chose not to do that. The only other, and yes, it does. And so that was the concern, I think, Commissioner Lloyd, is that if you sign this indefinitely, that it won't continue to come before the commission, and that the commission would thereby release local control. So I think that was the nature of the comments. And Commissioner Shainfeld, the only other change in that bill was that they added 2 more members to the Gaming Commission, 1 police officer and 1 member of the Northern Arapaho or Eastern Shoshone tribe. So those were the changes in House Bill 171. Does that, I hope that answers your question, Commissioner Lloyd.
Deputy Attorney De Leon, it does. The only thing I guess I just needed for clarification in my own head was there's not a current law or legislation that says we need to approve each specific legislation, because that's kind of what I took from that comment. Not each specific location. We could do it through this method of just letting them go where they want, but maybe I do like the time sensitivity, what you're saying. I just want to clarify that first question regarding we don't have to approve each location individually.
So Commissioner Lloyd, recall that we did have one nonprofit organization submit a Calcutta request. They did identify that they were donating 10%. So there are some circumstances where if there's a different event that they have to come in individually. And so I slightly disagree with the comments of that that were made there. I think that this does satisfy the statutory requirements of Wyoming Statute 1125-102. So I do think it meets the statutory requirements.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is that all, Commissioner Lloyd?
At this point.
Thank you. Commissioners, other questions for either Ms. Gerard or Mr. Nelson? No other comment? Go ahead, Mr.
Yeah, if I may, I would just like to add that the Gaming Commission absolutely is approving these sites on an account by account basis, and it's a pretty rigorous approval process with blueprints and our camera locations and handicapped accessibility, and they absolutely are approving on a site by site location basis. So each site is being individually gone through and approved by them.
Thank you.
Commissioner
Mr.
Lloyd, just to
Chairman?
clarify, those specific approvals are by the Gaming Commission, not the Board of County Commissioners.
Yes, sir.
So, John, I got a question for you. What is the county commissioner's responsibility in this?
The county commissioner's responsibility is to identify if they approve of this being done in the county. So that's and for what time frame. So those are the decisions that you as a board would make today. As I said, Mr. Chairman, you can identify the resolution as is, or you could put that time frame June 30th to have it where it comes back before the commission to continue to be updated, for example, by Mr. Ard, in terms of any future legislation. Keep it coming before the board, even though this is something that the board has repeatedly said that it supports, or the board could not approve the resolution.
Thank you. Other questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Johnson, go ahead. You had the first one.
Again, for Mr. Gerard, if we put sunset this through June 30th of 2021, what kind of impact might that have on your position?
I believe that we're talking, and Eric, you can jump in anytime here too, but I believe that we're talking the sunset clause that the skill games are operating under. They're operating under the sunset clause because when they originally started putting machines around the state, they didn't seek Gaming Commission approval or County Commission approval. And so their machines weren't meeting the regulations now that the Gaming Commission would like them to meet. So they're operating under that sunset clause with the understanding that they have that amount of time to get all of their games up to the standards of the Gaming Commission. The machines that we'll put in already meet the rigorous standards of the Gaming Commission. But I mean, if you would like us to operate under that June 30th clause, that's something that we'll absolutely do then.
I'd like to jump in, Mr. Commissioners. The sunset provision that has been set on the games of skill, there's two bills that have been submitted. One to eliminate the sunset provision, and the other one to extend it 2 years. One or two of those will probably pass just due to the position of the commission. The other sunset provision was actually put in because there was no rules or regs for the games of skill, and they're just operating without any oversight or any taxation. So this is a way to force them to bring up the rules and regs that are being put into place with the commission. We're a little different, of course, because we're operating these facilities. We spend considerably much more. Our terminals probably cost at least $10,000 a piece, and an NRT costs $20,000 a piece. So there's quite an investment. It'd be difficult to do the investment and then, of course, shut down the games come June 30th. But we'd comply with and take that in consideration when we do our locations.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholson. Commissioners, any other questions? I know Commissioner Shankfield, you had one.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I guess I just want to be very clear that so if we approve this resolution, then it goes in front of the Wyoming Gaming Commission and they review all of the separate locations as presented, correct?
That is correct.
I believe so.
Thank you. How long does that process typically take?
That generally takes anywhere from 30 to 60 days. And just so everyone's aware, the commission currently are considering only bars and truck stops for the future. So if they have any other games that are out there, gaming areas, those would probably be removed in the near future.
Thank you. Other questions, commissioners? So with that, commissioners, regarding, I got to pull it up here, go down further. Regarding resolution number 2020-112-CC-02, a resolution approving Wyoming Downs as continues to read with simulcast events within Sweetwater County. What's your pleasure?
Just for clarifications, Doc, I think you missed repeat the resolution, please.
Yeah, I will. I didn't read the whole thing. Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Resolution number 20-12-CC-02, a resolution approving Wyoming Downs LLC to conduct pari-mutuel wagering on live horse racing, historic horse racing, and simulcast events within Sweetwater County, Wyoming. That's the resolution. Commissioners, your pleasure. Commissioners, your pleasure.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
make a motion to approve the resolution with the date of June 31st, 2021 as being when we would be able to reassess that. I'd like to be able to have knowledge around how it's affecting our community, what the tax income is for our communities, and see what that effect is.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve with changing the date to June 21st, 2021.
That's not correct, Doc.
No, go ahead.
And I think Lauren misspoke too. It's June 30th, 2021.
30th. Thank you. You're
That's
right.
correct.
June 30th, 2021, as to have it revisited. We have a motion with that date. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Have a second by Commissioner Smith. Further discussion? Further discussion? With that, call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, commissioners. We'll remember to review this resolution again on prior to June 30th, 2021. Jill, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Guys.
Thank you, Eric. Have
Thank
a
you
good
very
one.
much. Appreciate it.
Merry Christmas and be safe.
Merry Christmas.
Moving on, commissioners. Next up on our agenda will be tab E, which is award of surplus vehicle and equipment. Joining us is Ms. Sternovich. Marty, good morning.
Good morning, commissioners. I'll make this quick. So in front of you is the bid opening results from the surplus vehicles and equipment that we brought before the board earlier on, and you gave us approval to put it out to public sale. We received several bids and we didn't include all of that into your packets. We just gave you a summary page of the high bidders for each piece of equipment that we had out for sale. So we had 20 pieces of equipment. The total sale is $33,379.57. We are here today to ask the board for approval and acceptance of those bids and to allow the chairman to sign all relative title documents to be transferred to the possible new owners.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for Ms. Sternovich?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
Wasn't me.
Oh, wasn't
That
you?
was me.
Who was it?
That was Commissioner Smith.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Commissioner Smith, question.
Marty, how often is it that we don't receive any bids on equipment or things that we're putting out for bid?
So far in the 28, 29 years I've been doing this, we have not received any bids on anything. We've always received a bid on the vehicle type sales. Now, when we do the furniture, unused or used office supplies type stuff, when we do those sales, we do sometimes don't receive bids on items. And then we've done it a couple of ways. We've made a lot 1,000 that you can bid on in that case, which is everything that's left. And we've actually sold it that way, or we just hold it till the next sale or determine whether to dispose of it at the landfill or however.
Are you pleased with the results of this go round?
Yeah, for what was in the sale, yes, we were. A lot of it was a lot of old lawn tractors and things like that. As we merged the rec board into the county's general government, if you will, Chris went through a lot of the old lawnmowers and things, and so that's a lot of what was here. You know, some of the vehicles that were in there didn't even run; they won't start. So, you know, it's not a lot of money, but I think we did okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Schenkel.
I just wanted to tell Marty, thank you for putting this together again this year. I think it's a good thing for our communities. It's a good thing for the county. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Shanefield. Commissioners, other questions for Marty or comments? With that, what's your pleasure regarding the surplus vehicles, commissioners? Award of surplus vehicle and equipment bid.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lloyd.
I would move that we approve the 2020 Sweetwater County surplus vehicle and equipment sale bids and allow the chairman to sign.
Thank you. Sign the titles, right?
Sign the titles.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve and authorize chairman to sign the titles. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Marty. Good job.
Thank you, commissioners.
Merry Christmas to you.
You too.
Moving forward, we have an events complex board appointment. And with that, when we pull that up, it looks like we have 2 terms expiring. One, Miss Faith Harris, and one, Janet Hartford, eligible for reappointment. Janet Hartford and both Faith, but Miss Harris did not. We didn't receive an application from her for consideration, but Janet Hartford's available. But also we have new applicants on file. So they are Kayla McDonald, Mary Shuck, Mark Lyon, and Tommy Toman. So with that, Commissioner Lloyd, you're the liaison for the fairgrounds. We'll let you start out, and we'll go through everybody before you make before anybody makes a motion. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. First of all, just in looking at this, I want to just thank Faith Harris for her time on the board. I know she's been on the board a few terms and has been a valuable member, and I appreciate all the efforts that she's put forth on that board, and understand why she's chosen not to reapply. But want to make sure we thank her for her work. I would recommend Janet Hartford for reelection, for reappointment. Also, in looking at the applications, some really solid applications. Kayla McDonald who's actually applied before, and she's actually now currently sitting on the fair board that not the fair board, but the I can't even think, the fundraising type board.
The foundation board.
Foundation board. There we go, the foundation board. Mark Lyon is a tremendous person in this community that's done great, that could be great on that. But in talking to the events complex and looking at the applications, my recommendation for the second appointment would be Tommy Toman. Been very active in 4-H throughout his life. Has recently been the chairman of the livestock committee and the auction committee, and I think Tommy brings a great wealth of knowledge in the agricultural industry that would really benefit the events complex. So really great things. I think Mark Lyon would be a great addition. I know Caleb would be, and I know we're already using your talents on the foundation board. Mary Shuck looked like she'd be a great person to add to, but my recommendation would be reappoint Janet Hartford and Tommy Toman.
Okay. Any other commissioner have any comments regarding the Fair Board appointment?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Johnson?
I obviously would strongly support Janet Hartford and either Mark Lyon or Tommy Toman.
Thank you. Other commissioners with regard to the board appointment?
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Shanefield, Commissioner Shanefield?
This is a tough one because we have some very involved people in our community that are applying for this position. Selfishly, I would love to have Kayla McDonald on the Fair Board because I think that she would be a great addition in combining economic development and what we can do as in community outreach, along with combining that with what the events complex does. And we're working on a marketing campaign currently, and pushing that out, I believe, would be very beneficial to tie the events complex in with that. I also, I did 4-H with Tommy. I think I think he's done a great job with the auction and everything that he's done. I also know Mary Shuck very well and have worked closely with Mark Lyon. So I support with what Commissioner Lloyd is recommending after his review with the events complex.
Thank you, Commissioner Shanefield. Any other commissioner, any comment at this point in time regarding the board appointments? No other comments from other commissioners? Commissioner Lloyd, let's start with the reappointment and do that one first, okay?
I'd like to make a motion to reappoint Janet Hartford to the events complex board.
Okay, we have a motion. Go ahead.
Effective 1/1/20.
Okay, we have a motion to reappoint Janet Hartford to the events complex fair board. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? No further discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, let's go with the new appointment. Commissioner Lloyd?
I think this is hard because I don't think we could go wrong with any one of the four, but at this point, I would like to make a motion to appoint Tommy Toman to the fair board, the events complex fair board, effective 1/1/21 for the open 5-year term.
Okay, we have a motion to appoint Tommy Toman to the fair board. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Johnson. Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So congratulations to Janet for her reappointment, and congratulations to Tommy Toman for his appointment on his first term, and wish both of them good luck. And thank you, commissioners. Moving on. Now we're into tab G, which is approval of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which is FEMA, Public Assistance Grant Agreement for the Emergency Operations Center. With us to lead that conversation is Ms. Marshall, our grants manager, and I believe, Christina, you have other guests. Would you please introduce them, please?
Okay. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, and happy holidays to you all. Looking forward to seeing you all in person in the new commissioners meeting room, which looks beautiful. I am here with our county treasurer, Rob Slaughter. So I'll be actually going through the next 4 agenda items. So this first one, Sweetwater County was awarded a federal disaster grant in the amount of $55,404.68 from the Wyoming Office of Homeland Security. This grant requires a cash or in-kind match of 25%. So this funding is to be used for local governments in responding to and recovering from disasters, but by providing assistance for federally declared disaster emergencies. As you all are aware, back on March 13th, the President of the United States declared a state of emergency and public emergency. Excuse me. Sweetwater County established at that point an Emergency Operations Center, or EOC, Incident Command with the cities of Green River and Rock Springs. So the purpose of that, which was formalized by MOU, was to implement emergency protective measures, coordinate meetings, and I'm not sure if you can still hear me with the construction work, but I'll continue. And the EOCs to manage the purchases and distribution of PPE and information. So this grant specifically will be used to reimburse the county and the cities for those expenses. In the grant application, I highlighted 3 main areas of expenses. First of all, there were expenses for incident command that consisted of food, office supplies, and actually we had some payroll that was for the on-call time for the individuals in purchasing. Second, there was a mass mailing and mailing of information dealing with COVID-19. And then finally, there was personal protective equipment, and that was purchased for emergency responders and medical personnel. Now the total budget, $73,872.91. And again, FEMA is willing to cover 75% of those costs. As you may be aware, we submitted a second grant application to the state of Wyoming for a coronavirus relief grant, and that amount was $18,468.23. I just would like to point out that the reimbursements under these two, actually both grants, are limited to expenses that have been utilized or distributed and not items that have been stockpiled. So unfortunately, things that have not been distributed, or PPE or the meals, will not be reimbursed until they are. Sweetwater County and the cities of Rock Springs each transferred to the county an advance payment of $50,000. That was held for cash flow purposes, and they will be reimbursed proportionately. So under the EOC, Rob Slaughter was the finance section chief, and I would like to invite him to discuss this project as well, if he'd like to. Since we had a lot of meetings, there was also Chris Meets from the city of Green River and also Matt McBurnett from the city of Rock Springs under the finance section with me and Rob. So Rob?
Thank you, Christina. Rob, welcome.
Treasurer. Good morning, Commissioners. You know, actually, I'm pleased that we actually received this reimbursement. I'm somewhat surprised. When we were originally doing this, there was some speculation as to whether these would meet the requirements for the reimbursement. So I was really pleased when Christina let me know that we were receiving this grant for reimbursement of those expenses. As she stated, when we originally set the fund up for the EOC, the cities each contributed $50,000 along with us doing so. It will be nice to reimburse the fund with those revenues which are coming back. In discussions that we had early on, and we've not had any discussions in the last several months, both Chris Meets and Matt McBurnett has said, you know, if we were to receive money back on this, they would not be opposed to leaving this fund set up for future emergencies. I'm not sure where we'll want to be with that. I think we'll need to have additional discussions on that. And certainly it will be up to the administration at the city level, along with the commissioners, to decide what we're going to do with that fund at that point in time. But very nice to receive the money back in reimbursement on those. There was an awful lot of work that went into it. I'm really glad that we did keep track of all of the hours that we did on doing that. It was a big job. Christina was fantastic working with us on that. Both cities, Chris Meets put together all of the time for it. Matt was really instrumental in all of it. So I think we did a good job. I'm glad we got the money back. It's something that will benefit the residents of Sweetwater County, and that's what we're supposed to do. So that's about all I've got, unless anybody's got any questions for me.
Thank you, Rob, and thank you, Christina. Rob, a special thank you to you as section chief for this emergency operation response team, and also for your deputies, Mr. Meets and Kurt McDermott, Mr. McDermott from the two cities and that. So really appreciated your work and how you stayed on top of it, but how it all come together under Christina. Christina, thank you very much for staying with it and continuing to stay with it as we move forward. So thank you. Commissioners, any questions for Christina or Rob? With no questions, commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this grant?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I will make a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the Federal Emergency Management Agency Public Assistance Grant Agreement and all related documentation for the EOC.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion, commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Christina, you're on for a couple more. Rob, thank you very much. Merry Christmas to you and your staff. Thank you for joining us. Okay, next up on our agenda is tab H, which is approval, I believe, of the Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement. And with us today for that, again, is Christina Marshall, but I believe you have Sheriff Grossnickel with you and Miss Judy Roderick from our Emergency Management Office. Good morning, Sheriff. Good morning, Miss Roderick. And the floor is yours, Miss Marshall.
Okay. Well, on these next two grant awards, they actually concern our Emergency Management Office, who has put in for these grant applications. So the first one, Sweetwater County was awarded $60,000 in Federal Emergency Management Performance Grant funding. This one requires a cash match of 50%, and that has already been budgeted in the fiscal year 2021 grant projects budget. Now, this funding is to assist local governments in preparing comprehensive hazard emergency systems. The funding will be used to supplement payroll expenses for Homeland Security emergency management. So that is for 2 full-time employees who are doing allowable EMPG activities. So in the budget, the grant award is $60,000, matched by another $60,000, excuse me again, and then it's supplemented by $44,890 in the department budget. So the total project budget for payroll is $164,890. This funding is all segregated for the grant portion, for the audit, and then the department portion. So we have our emergency management coordinator here who might want to talk, as well as Sheriff Grossnickel, about how important this office is, and I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall. Ms. Roderick, the floor is yours first.
Well, thank you, Christina. This has been a grant we've gotten for many years now. It's meant to help us, like you said, with our payroll expenses, to make sure that we can keep people in our positions so that we can do whatever we can to help the county be prepared for emergencies, help with plans, things like that. I think you were very self-explanatory with how the grant works, so I really don't have anything else on that.
Thank you. Sheriff Grossnickel, good morning and welcome. Do you have anything else to add?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. We all know how important emergency management is, dating back to 2001. But we can see how these emergencies spring up. We had no idea about this pandemic, and we don't know when our next emergency might arise. So it's vital to have this department within the agency.
Thank you, Sheriff. Commissioners, any questions for either Ms. Marshall, Ms. Roderick, or our Sheriff Grossnickel? With there being no questions, Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this grant agreement?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
I'll make a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement as presented.
We have a motion to approve the grant and authorize the chairman to sign. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion, Commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioners. Up next again is a approval of the Wyoming Homeland Security Grant Agreement. I believe security agreement for a portable corral. And with us is Ms. Marshall, the sheriff, and Ms. Roderick. So Ms. Marshall, the floor is yours.
Okay. So Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Sweetwater County was awarded $15,880 in a federal Homeland Security grant. This one requires no cash match. Now, in all my time with the county, I don't think I've ever seen this kind of project, which is absolutely fascinating. Judy submitted it. It's to support agricultural emergencies, livestock response, and associated vulnerabilities for biological risks. So in other words, livestock disease, livestock industry disruption by terrorist acts or accidental incidents that could have a big risk to public health and safety. So this project consists of purchasing a portable corral so that the county can participate in a strategic network of portable corrals and inspection chutes across Wyoming. So it can be deployed by within 90 minutes most locations. So the total budget again is $15,880. It will include all the accessories and components for the portable corral. You may think that the events complex and the Green River Rodeo Arena can be used temporarily to house livestock if they can get there. This is for, alternatives to corral livestock, for example, due to a traffic accident or when they need to be unloaded in a field. So it will be managed by emergency management. And it's my understanding commissioners like pictures and comic books. So in your packet, I included pictures of it, and you also can see the network of corrals. And I'd like to ask Judy or the sheriff if they'd like to add anything else about this project.
Okay, thank you, Christina. Grossnickel, what would you like to add to regarding this agreement?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like Christina said, a lot of people probably didn't realize that this would be a tool that we would need. However, since I've been sheriff, I know that we have requested Sublette County's portable corral one time, and we did need another one for an incident that occurred down on County Road 1 by Highway 414. And throughout my career, there's been several incidents where we are dealing with livestock trailers that overturned or are involved in crashes, and we have numerous amounts of livestock running on the roads that it is a safety issue for the traffic and the people around, not to mention to assist the ranchers in any means we can to protect that asset.
Thank you, Sheriff. Ms. Roderick, do you have anything to add to that? That's part of emergency management.
Sure. This is part of a 5-year program that the Ag Department had put together. Initially, it started out as they did some regional teams which got these trailers plus a few other equipment items, but they also had to come up with a team to support them. But then they really wanted to get some of these trailers spaced out around the state because these trailers are what people need most. They're very quick. They're small. You can set them up in about 15 minutes. I went to an ag exercise, I believe it would have been spring of 2019 now. And we actually had our animal control officer there as well as a deputy. And during the exercise, we set up one of these trailers. And they both were like, why can't we have one of these trailers? And I said, well, let me, talk to them because I know they're still really trying to get some more out there. And as soon as I said Sweetwater County's interested, it was like, yes, please, we really want one down in that corner of the state. Will you please do it? And so we put in for it, and we have kind of thought COVID might bump it out, but obviously it's still there, and we're excited to get it. And we'll do some more training. The state will come in and do some more training, but it is very, very simple to put up. We were surprised. We actually put it up while it was snowing out on uneven land, and it still only took a few minutes. And it will hold up to 2 semis of cattle, so it will hold a lot.
Wow. Thank you, Ms. Roderick. Commissioners, any questions for either the sheriff, Ms. Roderick, or Ms. Marshall? No comments, commissioners. Sheriff Gross-Nickle, you answered my question. I was wondering if we ever had to use them before, and you indicated one other time you had to run up to Sublet and get theirs.
Yes, you could ask Judy, but I'm pretty sure that we requested the one from Sublet and we got. And like I mentioned, just this fall, we needed one down on County Road 1, but the logistics of getting that deployed from Sublette County, we were able to remedy that situation a lot quicker. But if we would have had one here, we could have used it.
Thank you. Also, the other question I have for you is the storage of this. Where would it be stored, Judy or Sheriff?
The sheriff can correct me on this. I believe it's going to be out here we have a couple of other CERT trailers. And like I say, it's not a very large trailer at all. It folds down very compact.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we'll have it out there where your other storage is, Sheriff.
Mr. Commissioner, that's correct, yes.
Thank you. Any other questions, commissioners?
Mr.
Christina,
Chairman.
anything to add?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Johnson, sorry.
This question is, I'm asking this for Commissioner-elect Mary Tolman. Does this thing hold sheep?
I'm sure it would.
I can support it then.
I think it's probably available for all types of livestock, Commissioner Johnson. Even 2-legged if we had to, right, Sheriff?
We might have to be careful on that one.
All right, thank you. Anyway, with that, Commissioner, what's your pleasure with this grant?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson.
I make a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the Wyoming Homeland Security Grant Agreement for a portable corral.
We have a motion to approve and authorize the chairman to sign. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion, commissioners?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Shanefield.
just to thank you to Christina for the photos for Commissioner Smith.
Hey, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Christina. Other discussion, commissioners? With that, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I got to hear at least one more. Aye. Thank you. All those opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations. You got your portable corral. So with that, we have one more. Tab J is approval of the Wyoming Homeland Security Grant Agreement for tactical ballistic and breathing personal protective equipment. And with us on that is Ms. Marshall, as well as Sheriff Gross-Nickle. Good morning again and welcome.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is the last grant agreement on the agenda. Another very interesting project in the Sheriff's Office. Sweetwater County was awarded $30,626 in federal Homeland Security grant funding. This one also requires no cash match. So the purpose of this funding is to prevent and respond to threatened or actual acts of terrorism and other catastrophic events. The proposed use of the funding for this project is to purchase ballistic and breathing personal protective equipment, or PPE, that would be used by members of the Sheriff's Office Tactical Operations Group, or TOG, who must interact with suspects in dangerous environmental conditions and hazardous situations. So total budget of $30,626.16 includes respirators, rifle-rated plates, armor carrier systems. Acquisition of this PPE is part of the Sheriff's Office long-term goal to elevate the capabilities to a FEMA Type 2 SWAT team. I'm hoping the Sheriff would like to expand on that for you. Also, the PPE will meet the current standards set by the National Institute of Justice. So, Sheriff, would you like to expand on all this?
Thank you. Sheriff?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, again, this is to replace equipment that was extremely outdated that is used by our tactical response team. Like Christina said, it's something that's vital if we do have those incidents. As far as going to the next level, if you have any questions on that, Lieutenant Tomich is here and he can explain the purpose of going to that heightened level if you want.
Thank you, Commissioner Grossnickel. Commissioners, any questions for Christina or Commissioner Grossnickel or Sheriff Tomich, Deputy Sheriff Tomich? No further questions? With that, Commissioners, what's your pleasure regarding this grant agreement? Commissioners, your pleasure.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Shanefield.
Move to approve and authorize the chairman to sign the Wyoming Homeland Security Grant Agreement for tactical ballistic and breathing personal protective equipment.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and authorize chairman to sign. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
A second by Commissioner Johnson. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioners. Sheriff Grossnickel, thank you. Christina, thank you. Merry Christmas to you and your staffs, and thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Commissioner Johnson.
Could we take a short break, please?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Let's take a short break. It's approximately 11:10, so let's get back here at let's make it 11:20. Is that, or 11:25? 11:25. Thank you.
Is everyone back?
I'm waiting to, Wally's here, Roy's here. I see Lawrence here. Jeff, I think it was on. There he is. And let's Cindy, because I want to make sure she's on taking minutes. Is Cindy Lane on, Mike?
I'm here.
Okay, good enough. All right, with that, I will call this meeting back to order of the Sweetwater County Commissioners. And with that, we'll move on with our agenda. And our next item on our agenda is tab K, which is a request to replace a vacant position in the detention center. And with us for that agenda item is Mr. McLean from HR and Sheriff Grossnickel. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning.
The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, County Commissioners. We have a request to fill a vacancy in your board packets with the appropriate costs. This vacancy is for a RN in the detention center. As you know, the facility has a maximum capacity of around 211. An average census generally around 136 or so. It's been a little bit less than that recently. The nurse is largely responsible for the health care of the inmates 24/7. They're responsible for medical intake of the prisoners, assessing their medical status when they come in. This has been especially important in managing the inmate population through the COVID pandemic, and also in monitoring their health care, distributing medication, and a number of other tasks, coordinating their health care with the doctors and local healthcare providers, just among some of the primary tasks. These positions have gotten to be more and more important as the stay of inmates has gotten longer in many cases. So we're treating longer term healthcare issues, sometimes patients with cancer, diabetes, and other things. In addition to that, this is an area that's highly litigated, maybe the most litigated area in the county, which is the detention center, care of inmates. Inmates like to challenge this particular area. So this role has gotten to be more and more important. And so with that, I would support filling this position for two reasons. Number one, I think it's essential in terms of the statutory obligation the sheriff has, which is to care for the inmates. In other words, statutorily, the sheriff is responsible for their care while in his custody. And second of all, it plays an important, critical role in managing the pandemic in the detention center and the overall health of the inmates and managing the liability for the county. So with that said, despite the hiring freeze, I would support replacing this vacant position.
Thank you, Mr. McLean. Sheriff Grossnickel, you're on. Anything you have to add?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, first of all, I want to apologize for not getting you the letter that explains this. We got a little bit busy and we're reminded of it this morning, and we like to stay consistent. And again, I apologize for not getting that to you. As Mr. McLean indicated, under the national jail standards, this is a very important aspect of the detention facility when it comes to litigation. And we are, as you all know, running with the minimum amount of personnel that is required or recommended by those standards. So that's why we're requesting to fill this vacant position.
Thank you, Sheriff. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Sheriff Grossnickel or Mr. McLean, our HR director?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson.
This is for Sheriff Grossnickel. Why is the position vacant? What happened to the incumbent?
Unfortunately, that individual left for better pay, went to Memorial Hospital.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. Other questions, commissioners? Okay, if there's no further questions, commissioners, you've heard our recommendation of our HR. What's your pleasure?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Johnson.
I make a motion to approve the request to fill the vacant position in detention center as requested.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Johnson to approve the request to refill the position. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. McLean, and thank you, Sheriff Grossnickel.
Mr. Chairman, can I have a minute of your time, please?
Sure.
I just want to thank Commissioner Johnson for his commitment and service to the citizens of Sweetwater County. It's been a privilege to work with him and beside him. And all of us here at the Sheriff's Office wish him the very best of luck.
Thank you, Sheriff Grossnickel.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, commissioners, for Sheriff Grossnickel? Sheriff Grossnickel, thank you. And please, Merry Christmas to you and all your staff. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Yep, sir. Moving on. Next up will be tab M, which is the ambulance contract. With that, let me state this as we move into this is over time, much over the last 6 months, the commission has worked carefully in researching and looking at the ambulance contract for the ambulance service in the county, and spent a lot of time having conversations, requests of interest, and looking at what was presented. And at this time, I would like to turn the floor over to Commissioner Smith and our county attorney, Mr. De Leon. Commissioner Smith, there you are. Welcome again.
You're muted. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah. I guess I've prepared a letter I've shared with the commissioners. I made a couple of tweaks that have been requested, and so probably the best way to go about this is to just go forward with reading the prepared statement, and we can discuss afterwards. So this is a letter to the residents of Sweetwater County. As all of you are keenly aware, the pandemic caused by COVID-19 is causing financial hardship across the county, our state, across the country, our state, and at home here in Sweetwater County. I know you're feeling the strain in your business and personal lives. As a county, we feel the same strain, and as commissioners elected by you, we have the responsibility to deal with the effects of that financial strain. Unlike the federal government, we must, by statute, approve a balanced budget each year, no matter the circumstances we are dealing with. This year, even with the pandemic, is no exception. Effective March 31st, 2021, Sweetwater County is terminating its contract with Sweetwater Medics and Castle Rock Hospital District to provide ambulance service and the funding associated with those contracts. I, along with a number of others forming a work group, have spent 1.5 years working on a solution to the ever-increasing expense of providing ambulance service with no good answers. The proposals the group received to continue providing ambulance service ranged from $1.2 million to $1.7 million each year, with no financial promise of anything but increasing expenses in the future, which is unsustainable for us. This is just the latest attempt to find answers to this challenge. Many others in the past commissions have conducted similar work, all resulting in the same answer: pay more money. In the financial climate we face today and going forward, expending more and more money on services that are not a part of core government is a decision we cannot accept. We are required by law to fund certain aspects of the county, and ambulance service, while very much needed, is not one of them. This is not a statement of dissatisfaction with Sweetwater Medics nor with Castle Rock Hospital District. Both have provided excellent and compassionate service to county residents and many traveling in our county for years. I see their work quite often firsthand, and I'm always appreciative and impressed. Rather, it is a statement regarding the financial position of the county and our responsibility as commissioners to deal with our current financial shortfall. As a commission, we understand the vital importance of ambulance service and want it to continue. We ask our elected partners in Rock Springs, Green River, and the smaller communities throughout our county to join us in shouldering the financial burden and finding solutions to continue this life-saving service. As a county, we cannot do it alone. We are required by the contracts that we have to give a 30-day notice of intent to terminate. We hope this 90-day notice provides time to work with partners on a solution to continue providing this much needed service. Thank you for your support and understanding as we work through this, which is the first of what will surely be many difficult decisions.
Thank you.
And I would stand for any questions or comments.
All right, commissioners, any questions for Commissioner Smith? No questions?
No questions for Commissioner Smith, but I'd like to make some comments if that's okay, Mr. Chairman.
That is perfectly fine, Commissioner Lloyd. The floor is yours.
I want to reiterate a couple of things I think that Commissioner Smith has said, and Commissioner Chairman Wendling has said at the beginning too. This has been something we've been working on for a year and a half with the ambulance contracts. And when we first came in, and I'm going to give some rough numbers, we subsidized the ambulance between about $400,000 and $600,000, and we now subsidize that ambulance service between both entities at $1.2, $1.3 million. And with our current budget shortfall, we have to look at options. And unfortunately, this is one of the options we have to look at. And I think one of the things I want to emphasize, though, we still want to find ways to support ambulance, but we need the help from the cities, the partners, the other entities. We need to look at other options. And I look forward to working with those partners and finding options that work to help provide provision of ambulance. This does not mean they cannot provide ambulance. This simply means that the subsidy won't be there at this point, effective with the 90-day notice. But I hope together we can work together with entities and our partners and the county, the cities, to find a solution to help folks out to be successful. But I think, as Commissioner Smith said, we just can't shoulder that $1.2, $1.3 billion burden on our own. So I think we're all committed. I can speak for myself, and in our discussions, I think we're committed to finding solutions, but we've got to make sure we go in a different direction. So I look forward to working with people, and I appreciate Commissioner Smith and Commissioner Wendling and Marty Dernovich and Deputy Attorney John DeLeon for their work on this committee over the last year and a half, because this has probably been about every one of our executive sessions has been in the discussion about these contracts. So I do appreciate their work and know that we're committed to finding solutions, but we have to go in a different direction. So thank you, Jeff, for your work on this project.
Thank you.
I can't say it's been a pleasure, but it has been work.
Thank you, Commissioner Lloyd. Yeah, you're right, Commissioner Smith. It hasn't been a pleasure, but it has been a lot of work. Thank you. Other comments, commissioners? No other comments? John, did you have a comment?
I believe, Mr. Chairman, that Commissioner Smith may be making two motions.
Yes.
And I think the first motion would be a motion that the Castle Rock Hospital District ambulance service contract terminate after March 31st, 2021, and that written notice of the same be provided, and that the chairman be authorized to sign said notice.
Okay, thank you. Attorney DeLeon, Commissioner Smith, are you prepared to make that first motion? So go ahead.
Yes, if there aren't any, I'm presenting the letter, I guess, first to for your approval to, I don't know, we need a no vote on it necessarily, but just to make sure that that is the feelings of all. I didn't want to speak for the entire commission without making sure that that was what the feeling was amongst the commissioners. Although we have talked, I just wanted to make sure that was public.
That's a very good point. Let's verify that. I know Commissioner Lloyd, you've made your comments. Commissioner Smith, you've led that. Other commissioners, does anybody not support moving forward with a motion? Commissioners.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Johnson.
Over the years that I've been a commissioner, this has been a subject of difficulty for us to try to figure out how to handle the extreme cost of ambulance service. And we've never come up with a good solution for it, and we still don't have one. But the thing I would like the public to understand is that over all these years, we've reduced the size of government. We have reduced, depending on what the current number is, something like the 38 to 48 positions over the years, and we have not laid anybody off. And I think, and that's not just me, that's this commission and prior commissions. And that was done with intent, because we have protected our employees over all those years. And in my opinion, we have better government in Sweetwater County than we had previously. And that's a result of the outstanding employees that we have in the county and their willingness to put their shoulder to the wheel and do much more. And they've done it. But with the extreme budget constraints that we're faced with now and going to continue to be faced with, there have to be cuts made. And I applaud my co-commissioners in looking at this, taking and studying it very, very long and hard, and the decisions they've made. So I strongly support the letter that Commissioner Smith read, and I will support the motions that will be made in the very near future here today.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Any other commissioner? I'll go next, and I do support the letter that's read. And as Commissioner Johnson talked about how the county has cut down on government through hirings or early retirements, not replacing positions. I think even what pigtails off that is what's going on now. I think next month, Rob Slaughter, as well, our treasurer, as well as our assessor, will be presenting again with third quarter numbers. Our into second quarter numbers related that $6+ million shortfall in revenue for the county. And I might remind people that our budget was approved this last year due to a carryover that was used to help balance it, as well as nearly $5 million taken out of reserves to help balance that. So that's over and above what will be short this next year. So the revenue shortage for our budget is deep and it's real. I'm looking forward to hearing the second quarter numbers. But as I have stated earlier, I don't anticipate anything significant. I think if we've been following along at the state, at what's been going on there, and listening to where the governor plans to make cuts, then many of them are resounding. I listened yesterday to appropriations and some of the recommendations they were making just in the segment of public health that I was listening to. They were very astounding and very deep. The one that steps out for me also coming out of the governor's office is the continuance to nibble away money from direct distribution. And direct distribution is the $105 million paid to cities, towns, and counties over 2 budget years. And they're looking at taking, again, 10% of that second annual payment from cities, towns, and counties, which will impact the county alone nearly $110,000, not to mention what it'll do to our sisters cities of Rock Springs and Green River, and then of course our towns. So along with this, we are looking carefully at everything, and we will, as we continue to move forward as a commission, beginning to look at budgets and that type of thing, because of what we're expected to do as fiduciary agents for the county. So I do support this. And I do look forward to working with our cities and for a long-term resolution for ambulance service, if that's the desire. So I'll close with that. If any other commissioner has any comments, we'll listen. I'll give it a second here just so we make sure we covered the bases. Commissioner Smith, I know that you're going to make motions regarding with letters of intent to Castle Rock and to Sweetwater Medics based on the contract, and that will those letters be available to sign today, or do you think they'll be prepared by our legalese and signed at the next meeting?
I believe they will be ready today. Is that correct, Mr. De Leon?
They are ready.
Yes.
Good. So with your motion as we move forward will be to authorize signature to those. Is that correct?
Correct.
Very good.
Yes, I'll move forward with that motion.
Are you ready?
Sure am.
Okay. Go ahead. The floor is yours, Commissioner Smith.
Thanks. I move that we terminate the service contract with Sweetwater Medics LLC after March 31st, 2021, and provide written notice of the same, authorizing the chairman to sign as well.
We have a motion to terminate the services with Sweetwater Medics LLC effective March 31st of 2021 and authorize the chairman to sign such letter. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Shanefield. Any further discussion, commissioners? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Commissioner Smith.
I move that we terminate the service contract with Castle Rock Hospital District after March 31st, 2021, and that we provide written notice of the same and also authorize the chairman to sign said notice.
Okay, we have a motion to notify Castle Rock Hospital District of termination of ambulance service effective March 31st, 2021, and authorize the chairman to sign. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Thank you, Thank you, Commissioner Smith. Thank you, fellow commissioners, and thank you, Mr. De Leon, to help us bring this forward. With that, our next agenda item is other. Two questions before we move on is Commissioner Lloyd, earlier in commissioner comments, you had brought something up regarding working on a particular issue. Do you recall what that was?
I do, actually. I was hoping that maybe on the next agenda that we could put discussion of the liaison system up to just have, and that gives us time to just think about ourselves from the commission perspective of, what is our goal? What is the concept? And start to really carve out some specific directions in that liaison system. And if it's okay with the commission, I'd like to reach out to folks that have liaisons for their opinions also, so we could use that to maybe use as a guidepost. But I'd like that to be on the agenda just so we can start having an open discussion about the liaison system and really just providing some concepts of how it should work.
All right, very good. I think that will work if you will get with Sally and get that on the agenda, plus follow up, and I'll let you take the lead on that. And that will be a good conversation have Sally put that on the agenda towards the end of the meeting, if you would, please. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Commissioner Johnson.
I obviously won't be here for that meeting, but I'd like to make a comment relative to that.
Sure.
And we go back a couple commissions when we were moving to 5 commissioners. What we did at that point in time, we eliminated a CEO position that existed that saved the county over somewhere between $100,000 to $150,000 per year. And one of the ways we backfilled that and all 5 commissioners back that, is the liaison system. Because the feeling is that with 5 commissioners, that we would have the time to supervise those various functions within the county. And that was the logic that was used. And I think it's worked quite well, in my opinion. I know there's a difference of opinion there, but it gets back to what I feel we've had all along. We've got outstanding people that work for the county, and all they need is somebody to give them guidance through the liaison system. So that's my view today, and I won't be there, but I think I would like to get that out there so that prior commissions have been heard.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson, and I'm glad you shared that, because that has been something we've always talked about in the past, and it was good for all of us to hear that again. And thanks for taking that time and putting that together and saying it so well. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Lloyd, we'll have you work forward on that. And then going to Commissioner Shanefield, there was something in your comments that you wanted to suggest we work on. What was that? I didn't write it down. I'm sorry.
Are you talking about the 6 penny discussion?
No, it was earlier. We'll listen to the recording and possibly pick it up. Okay.
Okay, that sounds good. I don't remember off the top of my head.
No, but I did catch it, but I didn't write it down. My apologies. All right, we'll look at that. With that, commissioners, our regular business is finished. We do have an executive session for personnel. I'd like Gary to join us if he would, please. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Smith. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lloyd. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Commissioners, do we need a break before we go in?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. It's 11:55 right